Trump told Walmart to, quote, eat the cost of rising tariffs so they can keep prices low for consumers.
A retail giant is closing stores. Walmart plans to shut down 269 stores.
World's biggest retailer by volume and profit, that would be Walmart, warned today that it may have to start raising prices later this month due to President Trump's tariff policy.
The American retail empire is collapsing. One phrase from President Donald Trump, Walmart should pay. That sentence shocked the economy. Walmart, the nation's largest retailer, was already struggling under growing tariffs, but the president's demand to absorb them set off a chain reaction that has changed everything from grocery prices to global shipping channels. Walmart hiked prices across the board by mid-June 2025, threatening more. Secretly, over 10 large distribution centers closed, 50,000 were laid off. The company's timely. Once considered a global marvel, supply chain was crumbling. Retail, inflation, political retaliation, broken trade lines, and the global stakes of a single executive action. President Trump announced Executive Order 14,257 Liberation Day in a nationally televised news conference on April 2, 2025. Tariffs. The U.S. applied a 10% base tariff to most imports overnight, except for Canada and Mexico. A second tariff wave arrived 4 days later. 60 trading partners faced retaliation. A stunning 145% tax on most exports impacted China hardest. Walmart reported strong sales and earnings in the third quarter, but warned on its call that tariff pressures could raise prices next month. The president is also facing off with Walmart, which warned last week that it would have to raise prices due to Trump's tariffs. Walmart's response was swift and public.
Walmart's going to have another very strong quarter. We're looking for same-store sales growth in the U.S. of about 4%. And what we're really looking for with this report...
The corporation started removing crucial U.S. supply chain components. When Walmart refused to pay tariffs, prices increased, consumers braced, and the White House raged. Trump doubled down. Walmart officials rebuffed his suggestion to preserve its low-price guarantee. Instead, they predicted a $25 billion Q2 deficit and warned of a retail collapse without intervention. Fast shoppers saw supermarket costs rise after the fallout. $9 became over $14 for a 500-gram beef tray. Lettuce cereal climbed 30%, $2 each box. A simple trip to the supermarket had become a financial struggle, and this shock spread beyond American borders. Supply chains broke, port congestion surged, rice, oil, and canned food containers were stranded or redirected. Asian and African supermarkets reported barren shelves. American items disappeared overnight in Nairobi and Manila, raising prices. Tonight's families were desperate. White House seeking to calm fears of increased prices due to Trump's tariffs. Walmart CEO Doug McMillon called me yesterday on Meet the Press. Treasury Secretary discusses talks with a major retailer, but it warns that costs will rise and Walmart is eating some levies, as you say. On an earnings call, you have to disclose the worst-case scenario after President Trump lashed out online, saying Walmart should quit trying to blame tariffs for boosting prices and that Walmart and China should eat the duties. Walmart warned investors it will try to absorb trade war expenses, but bananas, avocados, toys, and electronics may cost more. Our chief financial officer said Thursday that we're wired to keep prices low for customers, but the proposed levies are hard for retailers and suppliers. Tariffs exceed targets. Walmart struggled internally when its just-in-time delivery network, which kept inventory moving to reduce warehousing costs, collapsed.
Walmart plans to cut about 1,500 jobs in a restructuring aimed at trimming its expenses and speed up decision-making. The Wall Street Journal reports that the company told employees it will reshape some of its teams, particularly in global technology.
Logistics suffered when 10 major distribution sites closed. The ripple affected all vendors and freight partners. Walmart's electronics, clothes, and toy partners saw freight costs rise. Contracts with steady rates now fluctuate weekly. Freight merchants predicted turmoil. No one knew tomorrow's costs. Even worse, Walmart canceled orders. Chinese suppliers, including 40-year partner Hunar Toy Manufacturing, lost 70% of their contracts in one quarter. The American Toy Association anticipates bankruptcy. Domestic stores deserted as overseas factories cut production. Present scenario: Los Angeles and Savannah ports were vital. containers stacked. Shipment brokers were shocked when importers abandoned their shipment due to new duties. It was logistics equivalent of bank-run commodities rotting on docks. On May 2nd, President Trump threatened a 50% tariff on all European imports without new trade terms. European markets plummeted on the danger. EU markets lost $180 billion in 3 days. Germany's auto industry froze. Euro Stoxx 600 declined 4.4%. Car tariffs in South Korea were 25%, when its central bank predicted a 4% drop in Q3 shipments to the U.S. Guangzhou and Alessandra prepared for major layoffs in the U.S. Walmart workers were hardest hit. Warehouse workers lost time. Store employees were forced to work irregular hours. Summer hiring halted thousands, labor unions warned. On May 28th, a U.S. judge delayed major tariffs under EPA jurisdiction, but ambiguity remained. Would tariffs return? Would they rise? Businesses vacillated, contracts stopped, stockpiles remained. Hanoi textile mills reported 6-month backlogs as Vietnam and India could not replace China. Indian electronics factories struggled to fulfill Walmart orders. Shipping expenses skyrocketed. Container rates on the Asia-US route rose from $3,500 to $6,500. Carriers predicted more hikes. Warehouse space evaporated. Companies hoarded stock. Bonded warehouse rents doubled. Storage startup Flex reported a 6-fold increase in inquiries. Walmart's global meat and produce shipping cold chain collapsed. Outdated beef exports. Groceries spoilt before sailing. Farmers faced another trade war. Banks reduced credit for small importers. Investors left supply chain. Walmart's internal memo project triage leak worsened startups' plight. It confirmed the closure of 10 distribution hubs, causing economic turmoil in eateries, truck stops, and school districts dependent on Walmart's logistics sector. Amazon acted immediately. Dissatisfied Walmart customers received Whole Foods discounts. Dollar General added food. Panic increased as social media grocery wars raged. Videos of empty shelves went viral. Public fury grew. Walmart's long-term strategy changed as losses hit $25 billion. The first Heartland initiative invested $5 billion in Arkansas, Ohio, and South Carolina manufacturing. Walmart and Symbotic deployed Link 16, a predictive AI logistics solution, across 400 fulfillment sites. Walmart increased its China withdrawal. In the first quarter of 2025, it cut Chinese sourcing from 60% to 48%, despite political instability. Walmart was projected to source heavily from Vietnam, which faced anti-dumping taxes. Wall Street reeled. Walmart lost $37 billion in 6 weeks when its shares fell 11%. $6 billion in ETF outflows. FedEx rose and J.B. Hunt fell. Warehouse giant Prodigies fell 9% in 1 day, and bonds were downgraded. Freight charges rising. Walmart halted its $5 billion supply chain investment. Fear index rose. Recession risk was predicted by analysts. Brussels said 70% of EU exports to the U.S. were at risk. Retaliatory taxes planned. Mexico warned of 400,000 U.S. jobs at risk as trade talks paused, raising the question: economic warfare or self-harm? With grocery prices rising, freight costs rising, and manufacturers closing, retail collapse is no longer a concern. It exists. Share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to Auto News and switch on notifications to never miss our political economic updates.